Hello, hello, hello. It's Lauren Young Durbin here with Tuesday Taiki Talk. We weren't here last week, but we're back celebrating my birthday last week. As always, Taiki Talk is about career, finance, all kinds of things that help you better your life and get things in order and help you move to where you want to get to. And I'm super excited about our guest today, Charlene Li. And Charlene is an expert on business transformation strategy and disruptive leadership. And she's a New York Times bestselling author of 6 books. Her latest is The Disruption Mindset. She's currently working on her next book on creating transformative generative AI. She has devised hundreds of top companies ranging from Adobe to Southwest Airlines and worked with 49 of the Fortune 100 companies. Previously, Charlene was founder and CEO of the disruptive analyst firm Altimeter Group and chief research officer of PA Consulting. She has returned to entrepreneurial roots, running her own firm, Quantum Networks Group. She's a graduate of Harvard College and HBS. For those uninitiated, it's Harvard Business School, and was named one of the most creative people in the business by Fast Company. Welcome, Charlene. How are you doing?
Doing great today, Lauren. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. I'm very excited to have you here. So let's just jump right in. So what has been the use? Has the use of generative AI changed company cultures? And maybe actually, let's take a step back. Would you mind explain to people what generative AI is, and so they have we all start from the same foundation?
Sure. It's this brand new technology. It's been around for a while, artificial intelligence, but generative AI really made its big debut and a big splash in December of last year with ChatGPT, where you can go to chat.openai.com, put into a browser box, just an empty prompt, and ask it to do everything from summarizing a topic to generating copy for your social media channels to asking questions for an interview like this. So you can do so many things. And it just generates things in natural language like you would talk to, and you can ask it and have a conversation with it. So people are using it for everything from getting the work done, anything you need to generate a picture or data, code, videos, and of course, writing. And sometimes they're using it to get coaching too as well. Like, I need advice. There's these 2 people at work, they're arguing about things. What are the things I can say to diffuse the situation? So it's really powerful and really changing the way we think about using technology to get a lot of work done and solve our problems.
Yeah, I know a lot of students are using it too. And my alma mater, Wellesley College, they actually have now a policy. I think it's a brand new policy because they're moving with the times. And so I've used GPT, and it's astounding what you can do. Like you can ask a question and then you can say something like, all right, well, make it longer. Make that part of your answer longer, and it is truly revolutionary. So back to the original question that I asked you, can you talk a little bit how the use of it has changed company cultures?
Well, first of all, some companies are absolutely terrified. Like, what are you doing with this technology? Are you just putting out company information? So people are being really cautious about giving people guidelines and restrictions, or again, just some rules to follow. But if you're going to generate it, then you have to look at it before using it, because it's not always right. Okay.
No.
But I think that the biggest change from a company culture is the strong sense of empowerment and agency that people have. You can now do things you never thought you could. You now have what feels like superpowers. And when you have superpowers, you can go to your manager like, look what I did. And the manager was like, how on earth did you do that? I didn't know how to do that. And so it's changing the culture bit by bit, because it's changing this power dynamic between a team member and the managers and the leaders. You typically went to those leaders to say, how do I do this? You don't need them anymore. You can just go to ChatGPT. It's like, how do I do this? And that answer will probably be better than any answer your manager could give you. So that's really challenging because managers go like, okay, my job in the past was to have all the answers. Now what is my job?
Right.
What's my role? Do
Right.
I need as many of me to manage people? Because
Mhm.
I may be out of a job soon. They can have two managers managing the same number of people because they don't need the day-to-day management and training. I can onboard people a lot faster and automatically with these technologies. Do they need me to make people know
Mhm.
how to do their job? They're doing the jobs better than I ever did it.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
that's becoming really challenging.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. A lot of people, it seems like all of the articles that I read about AI, they're talking kind of, I don't want to say fear mongering, but it's talking about the dangers and the fears people have about, am I going to lose my job? And, I know it's part of the writer's strike. That was one of the things they were talking about. So how do people adjust to that in the workplace and be on the forefront instead of trying to catch up?
Yeah, I mean, the writer's strike is a great example because they didn't say never use AI. They wanted to
Mhm.
say use AI, let us use AI, because us with AI is so much more powerful than you just
Yes.
using AI by itself.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to make sure that organizations understand the power of people using AI,
Mhm.
because people without AI, clearly not as good as people without AI. And people with AI is better than AI by itself, especially right now, because it's so new. It's not trained. At some point in the future, it might get better, but my belief is that we will get better because
Mhm.
we use these technologies. So the best companies who are using AI now say, sure, I could cut 50% of my call center. I can cut 50% of my marketing department because I need half as many people to do it. Why
Mhm.
would I do that? These people were so hard to find in the beginning, but I'm
Yeah.
using these tools that the really smart ones are saying, instead of cutting people and taking that down to my bottom line as profit, I'm going to enable everybody to get up to speed better, take the lowest performers, making the top performers, and take people who really know what they're doing and give them new jobs to drive growth without adding any people. I've
So it's
always
really
said,
a
yeah, it's a time, people, and money issue. Now I don't need time, people, money to grow. I already have the people. I
yeah,
reduce the time and I don't need additional money very much to give them these tools.
exactly. That was what I was going to say. It's more of a tool than a replacement. And so, yeah, like I said, the best companies are agile and able to understand that and move forward using that. So what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in company cultures in the last couple of years, and where do you see it going?
Well, I think the pandemic was a big one because I mean, we all thought it was impossible to work remotely. And then we all had to work remotely. And guess what? It
Mhm.
worked. Oh my goodness, it
Yes.
worked. Right.
Yes.
And then once we tasted it, like, oh, wow, we could do this. But we also missed the camaraderie. We missed being with each other because organizations are by their nature human.
Mhm.
And, but it gave us more time, more flexibility. So this is like conundrum. And right now, I know you wanted to discuss also how does the pandemic change things? I think it's a continuum of what the pandemic did in terms
Mhm.
of changing our relationship with each other and our relationships with work that now is coming to fruition with generative AI.
Mhm.
Because I learned that I didn't need my manager sitting next to me. Managers learned that I have to start crafting a different relationship with my employees. And we never thought of the work relationship as a relationship that needed to be crafted, needed to be
Yes.
nurtured, needed to be defined even. It just
Mhm.
happened. Onboarding was just follow me around, learn how I do my job the way I do it and do it the same way. That was the
Yeah.
extent of onboarding. Couldn't do that with the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so we had to be systematic about it. And that prepared us to think about generative AI. Like we're being very systematic about how people do their work now, really clearly defining it, the parameters, because we're not necessarily face to face anymore. I can't see you doing your work. So the level of trust, of agency, of collaboration has to be much higher and intentional in a world where remote work is happening. Even if you're
Mhm.
hybrid, even if you're in person now, we have this higher order of definition of how we do work, and that will help us with this generative AI.
Yeah. I'm going off script. So I'm kind of going back to what you were saying about managers. Now the focus is really on the managing and the people. When you're a people manager, the people focus. But how can managers pivot and empower the people who are under them?
Yeah. I think about it as not so much empowering, because when you empower, it implies there's somebody up here giving you power.
Mhm.
Instead, I encourage you to think about giving people agency, their sense of
Mhm.
agency, which means you always had the power to be able to act, to make decisions, to make change happen. I'm just reminding you now that you had that power, and I'm removing the roadblocks. And your job as a leader, not necessarily a manager, a leader, is to identify the change that needs to happen, because leaders create change.
Mhm.
Managers manage the status quo. And when you
Oh.
shift yourself from managing the status quo to think about what change needs to happen, then your job is to say, everyone, we're going this direction. We're going
Mhm.
and this change happen. So you're creating the guidelines, you're taking people on that journey into the future, you're showing them what that future could be. You're giving them that inspiration and motivation to make these difficult changes. And then you give them and remind them, you have the agency to make this change. Here are these incredibly powerful tools for you to use to figure out how to make it. And we're going to go on this journey together.
I mean, I'm not pushing back. I like that idea. I can say from my experience, maybe not so much agency given. It's it's more it is kind of managing the status quo, especially I think people with the economy, people are worried about losing their jobs. So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't want a revolution. I know how the French Revolution ended. um, so I am managing. So for maybe I'll try it from the opposite or a different perspective. If you're
Yeah.
an employee, like I guess the managers are employee too, how do you talk to your manager about these tools to kind of bring them around and bring them on board?
The best way is to be really clear what your goals are. If we
Mhm.
are aligned in our goals, we know what our objectives are, we know strategically where we want to head. And that's understanding where the company is going, understanding how our department and how our teams all roll up to the overall strategy.
Mhm.
This one company I talked to said, our strategic advantage comes from customer experience. We create great customer experience. We just happen to make these products. We happen to
Mhm.
deliver the service, but customer experience is the core of who we are.
Yeah.
Then you go and say, our values, our strategies focus on customer experience. I have this new tool that can help us enhance that generative AI, that customer experience in this way. Can we give it a try? Versus saying, I have this new technology. I just want to use it. This is what the technology does. Versus saying, I have this new tool. This is how it can help us achieve our strategic goals.
Mhm.
Want to learn more? I'm like, sure. How can we use this with very little costs and get there with less time and have better quality? Of course, I'm going to try that. So I think about generative AI. We're constantly looking for use cases to justify it. The use
Mhm.
cases are so obvious to me from a productivity point of view, from a quality, from knowledge, expertise, elevating people to a higher performance level. I call it making your big bets. Who are the new places you want to play? Your big
Mhm.
threats. Where are the places you want to defend against from new challenges or people shrinking your moat? And then what are the no regrets? Things that are just so obvious. Like, of course, it's a no brainer. We're going to do this
Mhm.
because there's very little risk. There's lots of upside. We have to make sure we understand those risks, any compliance issues we may have. But there's a short checklist of things we have to go through. As long as those checklists are reviewed and it's okay, then go for it.
I love it. It was can you say those three things again? The big
Sure. The big
bets?
bets,
Yeah.
the big threats, and the no regrets.
Ah, I love it. Big bets, big threats, and no regrets. I'm gonna make that my life motto.
Because everything else is noise.
Exactly.
You know,
I don't know how much you can tell us about the book you're working on. I mean, I'm sure we probably talked a little bit about what's in it, but if you can just kind of tell our audience a little bit about
Yeah,
what's
we're still writing it, so frantically writing it as fast as we can. We're hoping to come out in January.
Mhm,
And the working title is called Mega Transformation.
mhm.
And because we believe that generative AI is going to lead to a huge amount of transformation.
Yeah,
Both of us have been in technology for over 30 years. And I think a combined years of 25, 55 years of dog years of internet and technology. And so I came in and started my career in 1993, straight out of business school, as the
mhm,
internet was being built. The World Wide
yeah,
Web was debuted the day I graduated from business school.
wow,
So I went straight into newspapers. I thought that would be the place where disruption would happen. So I've been running towards disruption, and I've seen all these huge disruptive changes coming on, and looked at it as an analyst: e-commerce, internet advertising, the dot-com boom, search, social, digital transformation. I have never seen anything as transformative as generative AI.
wow, wow. Why is
And
that?
because it's really easy. Basically,
Mhm,
you use a browser and can get access to it. It uses everyday language, so all of us can become experts literally overnight and on topics we
mhm.
never knew. I created an application in 2 hours, not knowing how to code.
What?
Yeah.
Wow,
I mean, I'm a little techie, but I'm not that techie. I like had to ask it, like, how do I, okay, generate code? Like, what do I do with this? Put it in Python. Like, how do I use Python? You know,
what is
I'm like,
Python?
with Python, like it's on your computer. It comes with a Mac. Oh, so I was just step by step, like, what do I do with this stuff? And so over
Yeah,
2 hours, I learned so much and wrote this really small little application that I was just dying to create, because I was just like, this would just be a cool thing to do. And I did it in about 2 hours, not knowing how to even use Python, like that I
wow,
even had it on my Mac. So
that's awesome. I had no
it's
idea.
crazy. And, I was able to create my own private GPT using my own content. I call it Char GPT just for fun. So I'm testing it and using it to create my own content, because I only uploaded my own content into it. So I know it's
Mhm,
100% me. It's
yeah,
like talking to myself. I can ask myself questions. And because it's using all my content, and I have another database with the research that we generate all the transfer. So it's a private database. We can go and
mhm,
ask, pull up all the examples of AI. So write a sentence, a paragraph, a couple pages with examples of AI counsels being used. So it could pull all the things from the various interviews versus me scouring through hours of transcripts, looking for the examples. It'll just pull them up, and then I
wow,
can write against that. And it's
awesome.
transformed the way I do research, the way I write. I figure that about 70% of the work that I do is replaceable, can be supercharged with these tools and technologies. So it's highly transformative for the way I do my work.
Yeah,
And so if you're a knowledge worker in any industry, this is going to be transformative.
yeah, I can imagine, like, I was, oh, I guess technically I still am in the legal field. Mhm. Like, I'm just thinking in my mind, like, when you write those motions, it'll be, I mean, yeah, you can use Westlaw or LexisNexis, but if you're like, I'm working on this case with this issue, be able to pull up those cases, I'm sure people are doing it now, you know.
Well, yeah, I've had it write contracts for me. Um, I've had it, create arguments, because there are various things I had to do legally. I always have a lawyer review it.
Yeah,
But I say, and I tell them, I generated this with Chat GPT, and they're like, oh, this is actually pretty good. Here are a few things that you're missing that you should add to it, but it was a lot faster than them having to generate it for me.
yeah,
So it's a thing that's absolutely impacting law, because think about all the documents you have to review. And now you can
yes,
have them reviewed instantly. You have to go check it, make sure it's in the right direction. But there are
yes,
ways now that you can create prompts and engineer the prompts to make it do what you want it to do.
yeah, create but verify
Yes.
to turn those thing around. So where can people find you?
You can find me at my website, charleneli.com, and also all of my latest writings are on my LinkedIn page. So you can see my newsletter there called Leading Disruption. I have a live stream every week on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern. Again, you can find that all on my LinkedIn page, Charlene Li.
Awesome. So you can watch her live and then you can go to lunch and then come back and watch this live. It's perfect timing. Thank you so much for joining us. For people who tune in, next week we're going to be talking about taking a career break with 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒔. Very excited about that. And again, thank you so much for joining us, both to our audience and to Charlene. And see you guys next week. Bye.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.